meeting that shook the stars. The Galactic Council hall floated in the void like a shining moon, its silver walls reflecting the twin suns of Arxion Prime. Inside the hall, hundreds of alien delegates filled the air with shouts, wings, and hissing voices. Holographic screens showed flashes of red alerts and war reports. Every message carried one name that made the entire galaxy nervous. Humans. Panic had erupted after the last trade meeting collapsed. The Council had expected humans to kneel after the economic sanctions, but instead of begging, the humans had cut off all communications. Now, their fleets were moving toward the Council borders, silent and unstoppable. Ambassador Von, a tall reptilian with golden scales, slammed his claws against the table. "These humans are unstable," he hissed. "They do not understand the balance of the galaxy." Across the table, the insectoid envoy of the Thrixer clicked her mandibles. "You said the same thing before the Mars Treaty, and yet they outsmarted us again," she replied. The chamber shook slightly as another broadcast appeared. It showed an alien station exploding near the frontier. No one had fired on it, yet the explosion was clean, too clean, as if the atoms themselves had been erased. A whisper went through the room. "New human weapon," someone said quietly. The council chair, a massive creature with glowing eyes, raised his voice. "Order, order," he boomed, but his tone carried no strength. Fear had replaced control, and every delegate could feel it, for the first time in centuries. The council had no plan, no idea what humans would do next. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and a blue hologram flickered above the central platform. The voice that followed was calm, human, and cold. "Members of the Galactic Council," it said, "this is President Callan of the Terran Federation." Every being froze. Even the air felt heavier. "You violated our colonies, our trade routes, and our people," the human voice continued. "You believed we were weak because we asked for peace." A pause followed, long enough for everyone to feel their hearts beating faster. "But peace dies when arrogance lives," the voice said quietly. The reptilian ambassador stood up and shouted, "You will not threaten us." "The council will." The human hologram turned its gaze directly on him. "We are not threatening you," President Callan said, his voice still soft. "We are informing you." At that moment, the hall's holographic displays changed again. Dozens of red dots appeared, human fleets already surrounding several border systems, each one marked with coordinates deep inside council space. "How?" someone screamed. They were supposed to be weeks away. The human image leaned closer, his face calm. "Negotiations are over," he said. "You drew first blood, and now we end it." The hologram vanished, leaving silence that felt endless. Every alien in the chamber looked around in disbelief. The reptilian delegate's claws trembled. The Thrixer envoy lowered her wings. Even the mighty chair of the council said nothing, because deep down, every one of them understood the humans had planned this for months, maybe years. Outside the hall, the twin suns of Arxion Prime glowed bright and hot, but inside the council, the cold of fear settled in. No one dared to speak for a long time. Finally, the chair whispered, "We have awakened something we cannot control." Far away, in the darkness beyond the stars, the human fleets moved like shadows. No words, no threats, just silent preparation. For the first time in galactic history, the Council of 1,000 Worlds realized they were not in command anymore. Shadows over the frontier fear spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species whispered the same name, humans. No one truly understood how the Terran fleets moved so fast. It was as if their ships had become ghosts, unseen and unstoppable. On the distant border of Council space, a patrol fleet of the Zarn Empire cruised through the black void. Captain Ryland sat in his command chair, eyes fixed on the silent radar. "All systems normal," his officer reported. But Ryland felt something wrong, something heavy in the air. Suddenly, a flash appeared on the far side of the sector. A single ship, dark and sharp, drifted out of the void. Its human markings were clear, TFS Iron Resolve. Before anyone could react, the human ship vanished again. Where did it go? Ryland shouted. No one could answer. Their scanners showed only empty space. Then the alarms screamed. Every weapon system on the Zarn ships began shutting down on its own. Within seconds, the whole fleet lost power. Engines died, lights flickered, and silence took over. Ryland stared in horror as another flash appeared behind them. The Iron Resolve was back, and this time, it released something unseen. A wave of blue light passed through the fleet. No explosions, no fire, just silence. When the light faded, half the Zarn ships were gone. Not destroyed, gone, erased from reality, across the galaxy. Similar reports flooded council channels. Entire outposts missing, fleets erased, systems cut off from contact. The panic inside the Galactic Council reached new heights. Every world demanded answers. Every leader demanded protection. Ambassador Vornis shouted inside the chamber. "They are using new weapons beyond our understanding," he said. "They must be stopped before they erase us all." But no one had a plan. No one even knew how to find the Terran fleets. The Council tried sending messages of peace, but every signal returned with silence. One Council spy finally sent a short message before disappearing. His words were simple: "They don't talk anymore. They only act." In the human command center, far away on Mars, Commander Hayes studied the reports from the frontier. Each victory was clean, silent, and precise. No civilian deaths, no unnecessary destruction, only control. "Orders from the President," the officer said, handing him a data pad. Hayes read the message quietly. "End their arrogance, but leave them alive to remember." He nodded and looked at the stars beyond the window. Back at the Council, rumors began to grow like shadows. Some believed humans had made a deal with ancient machines. Others said they had unlocked dark technology from beyond the galaxy. But one thing was certain: the humans were no longer the same race they once mocked. In a hidden corner of the Council, a young alien aide whispered to his superior, "Maybe we should surrender before it's too late." His superior glared at him, fear burning in his eyes. "Do you think they will forgive us after what we did to them?" he asked. The aide said nothing, because deep inside, he already knew the answer. Forgiveness was no longer part of human diplomacy. Every world that once laughed at Earth now watched the sky in silence, wondering if the next shadow passing above was human. At the edge of the galaxy, the iron resolve disappeared again into the dark. No trace, no signal, no warning, only the memory of its presence remained, and the cold realization that the humans were now hunting in the dark. The Terran ultimatum across the galaxy. Silence replaced chaos. After every attack, the humans left no trace, no message, and no warning. But now, something new arrived. A message broadcasted to every world, every ship, and every colony. The title glowed in every language known to the stars. The Terran Ultimatum, in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council. The delegates gathered once again. Many looked pale and exhausted, their eyes filled with fear. The holographic display lit up, and the human president appeared again. This time, his face was calm but cold. "Members of the Council," he said slowly, his voice echoing across systems, "the time for diplomacy has ended. You will withdraw your fleets from human space. You will dismantle your military blockades, and you will dissolve your council. Refuse, and you will face the consequences." The words repeated across millions of screens. Some species thought it was a bluff. Others began immediate evacuation. The Zorath Empire refused the order proudly. Their admiral shouted on live broadcast, "No human will command us." Minutes later, the entire Zorath fleet vanished. No explosion, no signal, no debris, just gone, erased as if they never existed. Every broadcast channel showed the moment the fleet disappeared. The galaxy froze in terror. No one dared to speak for a long time. Even the Council's strongest empires began to tremble. Their pride had turned into fear. Ambassador Vornis broke the silence. "This is madness," he said, his voice shaking. "If we do nothing, they will destroy us all. But if we surrender, we lose everything we built." The chair of the Council looked older now, his eyes dim and heavy. "Maybe we already lost," he whispered. "They learned from us, from our greed, from our arrogance, and now they have surpassed us all." Meanwhile, deep within the human command center on Earth, President Callan stood before his advisors. Reports showed that multiple alien factions were now surrendering without a single shot. He remained quiet, his hands behind his back. "Sir," said one officer, "what if they surrender completely? Then we stop." The president replied, "We never wanted their extinction, only their understanding. But if they resist, they will leave us no choice." Outside the solar system, human fleets continued their silent march. Each ship operated with machine precision. They did not conquer worlds with fire, they conquered them with fear. No one could detect their arrival until it was too late. Whispers spread across the stars that humans had created a new kind of weapon, a weapon that disassembled matter at the atomic level, leaving no trace. The alien scientists called it quantum disassembly, but humans called it something simpler: control. Within days, half the Council worlds declared neutrality. Some sent surrender envoys to Earth, begging for peace. Others tried to form secret alliances to strike back, but the humans already knew. They were always watching, always listening. In one dark chamber, a group of alien generals plotted rebellion. "We can still destroy Earth," one of them said. "If we hit their sun, their system will collapse." But before he could finish, the lights flickered and went out. The hologram of a human soldier appeared in front of them. "You just made the list," the soldier said quietly, and then he vanished, leaving only silence. The generals realized their secret meeting was never secret. The galaxy now lived under a shadow it had created. The same council that once ruled through fear now trembled under human command. The ultimatum had been given, and humanity waited, not for surrender, but for the moment the galaxy finally understood its mistake. The fall of the arrogant, the galaxy could not sleep anymore. Every world feared the next dawn, wondering if the humans would strike again. Still, some council members believed they could win through numbers. They gathered the largest armada ever built in the history of the stars. Over 3,000 warships from 40 alien species gathered near the Sol system. The fleet was so vast that it covered entire planets in its shadow. Each ship was armed with plasma cannons, disruptors, and nuclear fire. The commanders believed this time humanity would bow. Inside the lead ship, Grand Admiral Loreth of the Varan Dominion spoke proudly. "The humans have technology, but we have power," he said. "Today, we end this Terran arrogance forever." Cheers filled the communication channels, but behind those cheers was fear. Back on Earth, the Terran president stood in silence, watching the incoming data. "They are coming," Commander Hayes reported quietly. Callan nodded slowly. "Then they will learn what happens when arrogance meets consequence." The order was simple. Do not fire first, but do not let them leave alive. As the alien armada crossed the Kuiper line, their systems began to fail. One by one, their ships lost communication. Engines froze, weapons went offline, and lights dimmed. The entire fleet floated helplessly in the cold, dark space. "Report," shouted Admiral Loreth, but no one answered. The radar screens turned black. The signals jammed. Then, out of the silence, a new pattern appeared on their sensors. Thousands of red dots, human ships. They came from all directions, emerging like shadows from the dark. No engines visible, no heat signatures, no noise. Just silent power filling the void. Lorath stared at the screen, whispering, "How many are they?" A voice answered through the channel, calm and human. "This is Commander Hayes of the Terran fleet. You came here to threaten our home," he said softly. "You will now witness the cost." Before Loreth could respond, his entire ship shook, not from impact, but from silence. A wave of energy passed through them. Every ship in the alien fleet glowed blue for a moment, and then they were gone. Back on Earth, the sensors showed nothing but static. No wrecks, no debris, no explosions, only empty space. The largest fleet in the galaxy's history had vanished without a trace, and humanity had not fired a single visible shot. The broadcast of the battle spread across the stars. Billions of aliens watched as the Council's pride vanished into the void. No sound, no screams, just stillness. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what true power looked like inside the Galactic Council hall. Silence filled the air once more. Many delegates cried. Others simply stared in disbelief. Ambassador Vornis whispered, "They didn't destroy us out of hate. They did it to remind us who we are not." The chair lowered his head, his voice trembling. "We brought this upon ourselves," he said. "We pushed them, mocked them, feared them, and now we face the storm we created." No one argued, because everyone knew he was right. In the deep space near Pluto, Commander Hayes stood at the window of his ship. He looked at the stars, calm and silent. "We didn't need to conquer them," he said quietly to his crew. "They conquered themselves when they chose pride over peace." The Terran fleet turned slowly and began its silent journey home. The stars reflected on the black metal hulls like ancient fire. Behind them, the galaxy trembled, and the legends of human vengeance began to grow. But humanity did not celebrate, because they knew this was only the beginning. The Council's collapse, the galaxy was quiet, but it was not peaceful. After the fall of the Great Armada, fear spread faster than light. Every transmission from the Council worlds carried the same tone: panic. No one trusted their leaders anymore. No one trusted their safety. On the capital world of Arxion Prime, the once Grand Council Hall looked empty. Half of the seats were vacant. the other half filled with terrified faces. Some delegates had fled their worlds, others had gone into hiding, and a few were already under human surveillance without even knowing it. Ambassador Vornis sat in silence, his claws trembling against the cold metal table. He had once laughed at humans, calling them reckless dreamers. Now he couldn't even speak their name without feeling fear. They have turned silence into their greatest weapon, he whispered to himself. The chair of the council entered the hall slowly. His steps echoed like thunder in the empty room. "We must restore order," he said. But no one responded, because everyone knew that order no longer belonged to them. Outside the chamber, riots had begun on several planets. Citizens screamed against the council's lies. They blamed their leaders for starting a war they could never win, and everywhere, holograms of human fleets floated above cities like silent warnings. In the middle of the meeting, a new holographic message appeared without warning. It showed the human president standing before a window on Earth. His voice was calm but carried the weight of 1,000 storms. "You built your council on fear," he said. "You called it peace, but it was only control." The delegates stared, unable to look away. "You judged us as lesser," the president continued. "You called us primitive because we still believed in hope. But now you understand, peace is not given, it is earned." A small alien envoy stood up, tears in her eyes. "Please," she begged, "we surrender. Just stop the attacks." The hologram turned toward her and spoke softly. "The attacks stopped days ago," he said. "What you see now are your own people destroying what you built." The words hit them harder than any weapon, because it was true. The humans had stopped their advance, but the fear they left behind was stronger than fire. Worlds collapsed, not from bombs, but from guilt. The chair lowered his head and whispered, "Then what do you want from us?" The human president's voice softened. "We want nothing," he said. "Only respect." The hologram vanished, leaving silence heavier than before. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the air felt frozen. The council had lost not just the war, but its purpose. Outside the hall, alien ships began to leave the capital one by one. Some without orders, some without destinations. They simply fled, searching for a future without humans. But deep down, everyone knew there was no future without them anymore. Ambassador Vornis walked through the silent corridors. He remembered the first time humans asked for trade, how the council mocked them, calling Earth a minor world. Now, that same world ruled the stars through fear and discipline. He looked out of the window at the twin suns of Arxeon Prime. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "we were never as wise as we thought." A soft hum filled the air, a human ship entering orbit above the capital. No weapons fired, no threats spoken, just presence. The council had officially collapsed, its leaders scattered, its pride broken, its name forgotten. And as the humans watched from the distance, they knew the galaxy would never be the same again. The new order of the stars. Months passed. Since the fall of the Galactic Council, the chaos slowly faded, replaced by silence and rebuilding. Across the galaxy, new banners were raised, the symbol of the Terran Accord. A new alliance led by humans, but open to all who sought peace. The once feared fleets of humanity now patrolled the stars as guardians, not conquerors. Their ships no longer brought fear, but order and protection. For the first time in centuries, trade routes were safe. Pirates vanished, and wars stopped. The galaxy had found stability, but it came with a price. On Earth, the new capital of the stars, the Terran Council Hall stood where oceans once met mountains. Delegates from hundreds of worlds filled the great dome. Some came willingly, others reluctantly, but all came with respect, for they knew that the era of human weakness was over. President Callan stood before the assembly, his gaze calm yet powerful. "We stand together not because of fear," he said, "but because we have learned what fear creates." His voice carried across the chamber, touching every listener deeply. "The old council ruled through arrogance and pride," he continued. "They forgot that peace is not control, it is balance." A soft murmur filled the room. Even the alien leaders nodded quietly. They understood now what they had refused to see before. In the corner of the hall, Ambassador Vornis watched silently. The reptilian diplomat who once mocked humans now bowed his head in respect. He whispered softly, "They were right all along. Humans fight hard, but they build harder." After the speech, Callan stepped outside onto the balcony. The sky above Earth shimmered with lights from orbiting ships. Each one represented a new world, joining the Accord. A future united under one simple promise, never again through fear. Commander Hayes approached him, his uniform shining under the sun. The galaxy watches us now, he said. Callan nodded. Then we